One of the most important things we can do to speed up our careers, to speed up the dream, is to focus on developing and nurturing our connections. Now, some people would say your network. I just don't like the term networking. It feels gross, but it's networking. Your network. So if you look at your web of connections is what I refer to. All right. So if you're new to the program, when I say web of connections, I mean network. So your web of connections has the ability to be a game changer, difference maker, fast forward button, whatever you want to say. And I can tell you this, of all the successful men and women that I've been able to meet, to be friends with, to interview in the line of work that I'm in, if there's one thing they all share in common, and there's multiple things, but if there's one thing that has fast forwarded at times their progress, it is their ability to develop and nurture a web of connections. It's a game changer. Because many times you are one connection away from a massive fast forward button. One connection, one conversation. Now, where do those connections and conversations come from? They don't come from out of the blue and just fall in your lap. It's a bunch of garbage. It's not luck. It's intentionality. To meet people on purpose. To get in relationship with people on purpose, to help them on purpose, to build goodwill, to build up a big old bank account of connections, if you will, so that when you need to take a withdrawal, it's easy, it's effortless, because you have been depositing and depositing and depositing and depositing. So there's a great book that I read when I was a kid. I say kid, I was 17. It's by a legendary envelope entrepreneur by the name of Harvey Mackay. And this is a book that I recommend to everybody go get it today. It's probably going to cost you less than $5 used, probably paperback on Amazon.com or wherever you want to buy a used book. It's called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. What a wonderful name. What a wonderful concept. Dig your well before you're thirsty. You know, back in the day, you know, when settlers would settle on land, they knew that they were going to have a water source over time. And so one of the first things they would do is dig a well. And then they could live off of a stream or a river source for a while, but eventually to develop their plat of land, develop their homestead, they would need to dig a well. Because water, obviously, the life source. So it's one of the first things they would do. And I'm telling you, wherever you are in your career, if you're starting over, if you've never dug a well before, you've never really been intentional to develop a web of connections and then nurture your web of connections, you need to start doing that now, like today. And that's why I wrote the proximity principle. There's a whole chapter on it. So go get the book. It's super cheap at my website. You can get all 3 formats for $25. Go get it at Amazon, wherever books are sold. I write specifically on this in one of the chapters in the book. And the entire book is about getting around the right people and getting in the right places. But I read this book by Harvey Mackay, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, when I was 17 years of age. And I talk about it from time to time on this program. But I wanted to make sure that you understand, for some of you who are really frustrated and you feel like you're doing everything, Ken, I'm clear and I'm getting qualified, or I am qualified, but I can't get started or I can't get promoted. Go back down into that third stage of my 7 stages to meaningful work, to living and working like no one else, and look at Get Connected and really understand the art of connecting. To understand that your web of connections can either limit you or it can lift you. It's either going to limit you or lift you, your web of connections. And it's either one or the other. There's no middle ground there. And if your web of connections is weak or not very wide or not very deep, it's limiting you. You are limited. However, if you begin to really develop the web of connections and go wide and deep, then your web of connections will always lift you. It doesn't mean that you may never have to wait or be patient. I don't want to sell a bunch of snake oil motivational gibberish. So there will be times we have to wait, no question. But even in the waiting, when we are developing and going in deep, and maybe we have to wait for one connection to develop to another connection, but I'm telling you, from your web of connections, you will be lifted. You will advance. So you cannot underestimate the power of your web of connections, your network. And so you've got to be intentional to always be adding, to always be adding and always be growing the relationship. Adding new relationships, growing the existing and new relationships. What are you doing for those people? How are you adding value to them? Are you thanking them on a regular basis? Are these living, breathing connections? You don't have to be on the phone all day long with these people. You never get any work done. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that you've got to be very intentional. And even in the pandemic and COVID, you can still build relationships. Is it as easy? No. But can it still be done? Yes. And you've got to do it. The signature idea in this book that I've been telling you about, Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty, was essentially that if you had to call somebody at 3 a.m. in the morning in any major area of your life, is there somebody you could call? It's a real test. You think about that. Whoa, Ken, I don't think I have anybody. Well, you need to, whether it be a doctor or a lawyer. And he was talking about all these areas of your life, your plumber, and so to have these relationships, deep relationships with friends, where when you ask something significant, it's not out of line, it's not out of the norm. There is a relationship, a foundation below the relationship that allows you to feel comfortable asking and allows them to immediately say, you bet. What do you need? I'm in. And so for some of you who aren't getting the breakthrough, you aren't getting the opportunity, you aren't getting the promotion, one of the things you need to be looking at is the strength of your web of connections. Is it strong or is it weak? Because you're either limited or you're lifted. So get about the business of building while you're looking, while you're trying to get the promotion, while you're looking, trying to find an opportunity, whatever it is, build your web of connections and keep building it and keep maintaining it, and opportunities will always, always find you, I promise.